Welcome back to the Final Fantasy Randomizer Summer Marathon, everybody, benefiting the Liam Foundation. Originally started back in 2015, the mission of the Liam Foundation is to encourage, assist, heal, and empower our LGBTQIA plus community through respect, advocacy, and passionate hearts to promote thriving in society. We just heard from Kristen from the Liam Foundation about many of the fun projects they've got going on, including several in-person events. They recently participated in a Pride Parade. All donations go to support every people on the ground on that charity. Coming up next, we've got the Hollow Knight Co-op Blackout Bingo, and I'm gonna toss it over to Brooke now. Take us away.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for having us. We played last summer, so if you've recognized my voice or these runners before, you would be correct. Um, so we're going to be running a different format tonight. We're going to be playing the Blackout Bingo and completing the true ending of the game. So you'll see right in the middle of your screen, you've got a bunch of various tasks that these runners have to complete. So once they get going, they'll be making their way through the various areas of the game, trying to maybe collect a charm, like obtain Shaman Stone or Spell Twister, or defeat a boss, like defeat Marmu. So you'll see players starting out trying to find some of the ones that are. Oh, and there they go. So you'll see players try and complete ones that are immediately accessible to them, but with this being a Metroidvania, they'll have to collect abilities, upgrades to their skills to help them complete some of these goals throughout the game. So we have Rax here coming up on the first shop, a pretty good start location for Rax here. I do see Howling Wraiths in the shop. That is the first spell that these players will have, and also half of the obtain Abyss Shriek. Abyss Shriek is the upgraded version of Howling Wraiths, so you have to collect Howling Wraiths first for that. And by the way, if anyone has any questions, I have an eye on the chat, so feel free to drop in. Right now, players are just kind of going through the early areas, taking down a very early game boss in Grezmother there. Having something like a spell makes it very easy to take down these early game bosses. Spells are really good in Hollow Knight. Some of these enemies and bosses will actually scale their health based on the damage that your normal attacks do. But spells will always deal the same amount of damage. So if you never upgrade your normal attack, then you'll be able to take powerful spells and shred through some bosses. So a lot of the early game is just going to be doing the checks that are just immediately accessible to them without any movement items. You will see some players do some skips. You might see some use of enemies to pogo off of them to gain a little bit of extra height to get something that they're not really supposed to get to yet. But we'll definitely see some more interesting skips as the run progresses. And there we see a lever check. Thanks to everyone for meeting that lever randomizer incentive. Lever rando is, first of all, it's really fun. Second off, it's really interesting because it adds almost like a new way to access different areas of the game, or completely block off access to areas of the game. There are some things where you have to hit a lever to get access to it. But if you don't have that lever, if you haven't found it yet, then you just don't have access to that area. It's very interesting because it kind of like adds like a different dimension to getting through areas. And the three of us play as a group pretty frequently. Unfortunate death there to the Husk Guard. Trying to get to the guarded grub up there. Just a quick little check, but sometimes those hitboxes get a little tricky. If you get your timing right, you can pogo over it and be fine, but not always. Yes, shop key. An astute observation. We haven't been to Sly yet, so I wasn't going to mention it. Sly is another one of these shop keeps in Hollow Knight. What you have to rescue him from Forgotten Crossroads before his shop opens up in the above-ground town of Dirtmouth. But Sly also has actually a secret store of additional items, but you have to find the key to his secret stores if you want to be able to buy them. So fortunately, those players have already had it, so they have full access to Sly, which gives them a bunch of additional checks pretty early in the game. But the problem with having access to a lot of shops early is money can get a little tight. These are shops, in fact, so you do need to exchange Geo, which is the game's currency, for these items. Fortunately, like you just saw with Rax, you saw sometimes these stores have fire sales, and money's on sale. You can spend 1 Geo and get a whole chunk back for nothing at all. Oh wow, that's a really disappointing Sly. You see a Charm Notch, a Grub, and maybe Fluke Nest as being okay checks. A really disappointing shop for our runners here. Yeah, Fluke Nest is a very interesting charm. It changes one of your spells. Instead of being a horizontal, like, fireball style attack, it basically, like, spits out a bunch of enemies that deal contact damage. It's also one of the weirder charms. Just because... Well, now Cordy, he says he's keeping all the good stuff in the back. But our runners have already found Shop Key. They've seen everything he has in the back. There's nothing left. Oh, Hera found here. That is one of the 3 dreamers that they need to find for to complete the true ending. But more relevantly, it also changes Forgotten Crossroads into Infected Crossroads. So, despite you'll see the graphical changes on Rax's stream on the left there, but you'll also see that the enemies have gotten more difficult. There are more of them, and they deal more damage. And there's also certain passageways and paths that through the area that are now blocked off by the infection that is slowly consuming Hollow Nest, but that's like all the lore stuff. Oh, and seeing an overcharmed Ancestral Mount here, as Vari is fighting Hornet. Hornet normally gives you the dash ability, but obviously she's going to give you something completely random, so we'll have to see what Vari gets here. And it's a Grub! I didn't get a good look at what is at Grubfather, unfortunately, so we'll have to see if there's something important there. Because Grubfather basically acts as a shop where you have, effectively collectibles in Grubs. Just being able to exchange, well, not exchange, but once you meet a certain threshold of Grubs, you get access to new items. Oh, sweet, a Grub at 24 Grubs. Some sort of baker's dozen in Hollow Nest, I guess. So the overcharmed Ancestral Mound here is interesting. I think Rax is trying to... Yeah, so Rax is overcharming for Weaver Song to get past that enemy there. So that enemy is an Elder Balder, and it does not like when you get close to it. And if if you get too close to it, it curls up and is not able to be damaged. So you have to have what's called a Balder Killer to get past it. This is most relevant for getting access to Green Path, because in the normal progression of the game, you get Vengeful Spirit, and then you can use a ranged attack to kill the Elder Balder. But it's not super relevant on this particular seed because Vari had a start location that gave immediate access to Green Path. So there's no need for them to worry about getting access to Green Path when they already have it. But in this case, it did allow Rax to get one additional charm. Oh, we're going to see a infection skip here. Yes, we are. Rax is going to be trying a skip off of these infection bubbles. So you can only do this if you have infected crossroads. But the little bubbles on the top of the screen, you can pogo off of them. And if you get the rhythm right, if you hit them at the right time, you can actually get enough distance to get over this gap, even when you're not supposed to. It's something that's neat enough, especially because Rax had a start location that kind of had them already clear out the right side of Crossroads, so there's not really much left for them to do. Another benefit of this skip is it's really easy to reset this because you're right by a room transition, and once you reset the room transition, then the bubbles come back. Hopefully they'll be able to get this. Oh, hey, there we go. And so now that is now they have access to fungal wastes. So fungal wastes will be able to give them new checks, access to the Mantis Village, which is an important goal. They have defeat Mantis Lords on here, but Mantis Lords are locked behind a lever. The Queer Fairies asks, is that included in Logic? That seems like a really cool bit of progression for first streamer. It is if you have infection skips enabled as logical skips, because that's categorized as an infection skip because you have to have infected crossroads to be able to do it. There are some other ones that rely on the more difficult enemies, so it might have more health. It might move in a different way. There might be an enemy that was not there before that you can then use to pogo. So the infection skips kind of covers a number of things. I'm not sure if they actually have it in Logic, though. I'm not sure what settings they're exactly running. So they might be doing out of Logic things right now, which is fine. We love going out of Logic. We love when the trackers get all red and angry. Yep, taking out the Shroomill Ogre's Arena here. It's required to get to the left side of Fungal Wastes when you come in from that way. And it also rewards you with a check. Fortunately, a soul refill's not exactly what they were looking for there. But you know, sometimes you don't get great checks. It's part of the game. Yeah, so the players have not found really anything that kind of breaks open progression. The hair is really the only thing that's given them great access. Do you see Bari up here looking to set up a shade skip, maybe, for the Balder Shell? So there's a charm down here. But yeah, looking to set up a shade skip here. Yeah, but so there's a gap basically right above where Vari is taking damage here, and you can't cross it without something to help you. And so now we see it's Vari's turn to overcharm Weaver Song to kill a Balder. Yeah, so the progression here. It's pretty limited. It's not really opening up a lot, and they're kind of running out of checks. So something in Logic has to give them something. Otherwise, you know, something's wrong with the randomizer. Are we playing with Split Claw? I'm pretty sure no. Swim is usually something that is randomized, regardless of whether or not claw is split or not. Split claw refers specifically to the item Mantis Claw, which lets you cling onto walls and wall jump and ascend and go up walls. It's very powerful. It opens up a lot of areas of the game. And there's an option to basically make it so you have to find, if you want to use the if you want to cling to a left wall, then you have to have left claw. If you want to cling to a right wall, then you have to use right claw. That was so tragic for Vari. Vari's Weaverlings actually killed the shade that it was trying to use to get to the area that it needed the Weavers for. All right, we have our first goal. They found Spell Twister at a lore tablet over there in Fungal Wastes. So we got 1 down, 24 to go. Hopefully they find something soon. Because it is a little unfortunate seeing how things have gone. Yeah, so Vari's coming over to Crossroads to do False Knight. So False Knight is actually a little bit annoying to get to with Infected Crossroads, just because the normal paths of accessing him are kind of shut off. Whether it's infection or just like access to it, basically. Now this is like the tutorial boss, so Vari's gonna make quick work of him. It's actually something where in these staggers, you can actually infinitely stagger False Knight, as long as he doesn't finish this like ground pounding animation. If you deal enough damage to him, he will just get stunned again. So you have to stagger him 3 times, and then once he does, oh, hold up, we got Explosion Pogo going on Rax's screen. So this is a classic trick from the any percent speedrun. Using that explosion from the Sporg enemy above to basically use that hitbox to pogo twice like that and just get right up there. So now this saves some time and also makes it easier to get some of these checks in Mantis Village. So it's a pretty close skip. And we also see our runners have now collected a Fish Shriek, which is another goal, and will also help them with combat, just increasing their damage output, and helping them get through fights more quickly and with less hullabaloo.
Got time for me to talk about the charity real quick?
Absolutely. Take it away.
So thank you for joining us for the Final Fantasy Randomizer Summer Marathon. You're watching Hollow Knight Co-op Blackout Bingo in support of the Liam Foundation. Originally started back in 2015, the Liam Foundation's mission is to encourage, assist, heal, and empower our LGBTQIA+ community through respect, advocacy, and passionate hearts to promote thriving in society. They recently expanded their space in June of 23, and they're hosting all kinds of different events like open mic nights, queer elder brunches, adult peer support groups, and more. All donations go straight to the charity. Any support you would like to show is appreciated, and if you donate at least $20 over the course of today, you will be entered into a drawing for the sweet steampunkish calligraphy set that you see over on the right-hand side of the screen. So donate today.
Great, thank you. Awesome work that they're doing. Oh, that was such a tragic death from Poetry. So that's a check that is actually made a bit harder by the Infected Crossroads having additional enemies to pogo. They are enemies that explode when you kill them, and if you're too close, they deal you a lot of damage. We do see some access to the right to the City of Tears. This is a really big area. Um, Lots to do in there, but the game kind of expects you to have vertical movement, whether that's Monarch Wings or Mantis Claw, like I was talking about earlier. And so there's probably not that many checks that these players can actually do here. But probably not nothing. Yeah, so a little bit of Geo. That's probably it for Kingdom's Edge. It's probably going to see Rax come into City and do some of the other um, checks that are available with the movement that they have. It'd be interesting seeing where these players go. Yep, checking Militia door here. This is another item. Oh, Dream Nail! That is really, really big. Dream Nail is a very important item. It gives access to Dream Warriors, Dream Bosses, the ability to, well, beat the game. That is a required item for not just true ending, but any ending. And the lever randomizer actually enabled them to pick that up, because the check that they did there is normally it's like you come up from the area below and then you open that as like a one way, and so then you have access to go back that way. But levers let you get around that. No.
Got time for a quick donation?
Yes.
We have $25 from Anonymous saying, "Let's go runners, loving the wild skips we're seeing."
Great, thank you, Anonymous. So Rax is continuing to work through the City of Tears. And Vari is going to be doing some cleanup checks in Crossroads. This is the neat part about co-op, at least one thing that I think is really neat, is kind of the ability to be able to split areas with your partner. Being able to, say, all right, I did all these checks in this area, but just got access to this, new thing that's going to help us out. And then your partner being able to kind of come in and do the things that you missed out on. So kind of taking a sec to look at the board here. It's actually not much that they have clean access to right now. A lot of the ones that they do have access to are just things that are just random obtains. So finding like Hive Blood or Sharp Shadow, or finding Shape of Under Balder Shell. But as the runners are clearing out these areas, getting the checks, they will, again, eventually, if the randomizer's working, find something that will get them to a new area, a new boss, something that can start kind of making these goals more obtainable than just hope we randomly get the the right check. Yep, seeing another little enemy pogo here from Rax. Trying to get up onto this ledge. There are a couple of checks up here. Not a ton, but again, a couple of checks is a couple of checks. So the key here is you have to wait for this enemy to jump up, and at the peak of its jump, you gotta pogo off of it. It's being a little finicky here. So let's see if Rax can get this. Taking a sec to heal up, always good. All right. See, this is the problem, because normally when you come into the room for the first time, it's lined up really well. But if you miss that first one, then it's kind of hard to get it right back in the right spot. Okay. There we go. All right, up onto the ledge. Gonna get a quick check over here. Just working their way through these sentries. 300 essence, not bad. So the essence is an item that is used for the seer. The seer is a moth that resides in resting grounds, and much like Grubfather, once you get a certain amount of essence, you get access to new checks. We have not seen seer rewards yet. Waiting for, what's funny is if lever randomizer were off, they would have access to resting grounds right now, but the resting grounds floor lever is keeping them from getting to the seer. So just another way that lever randomizer can kind of close off ways, just as much as it can kind of give you new ways to access things. Yeah, so Rax really being able to use the Abyss Shriek here, just really fully leveraging the power of that spell this early. Just to be able to kind of shred through these enemies in this arena, which can be a little bit of a challenge without spells. This is actually a part of an arena that is not considered in logic if you don't have a spell. So there are some things that you can say like, I'm good at this game, I can beat these things, but that is one where the game does expect you to have a spell to be able to get access to it. Rex coming back into fungal wastes here. Vari taking a look at the map, just seeing what all is in logic, what's available to them. The randomizer does have a pretty good built-in tracker, just kind of keeping track of all the different areas, what's accessible, what is not accessible. I'm actually going to see Rax take on a Dream Warrior here with the Dream Nail. This gives access to additional mini bosses throughout the area. These normally reward essence for the seer, but they're randomized. Yes, it's Pancake Man, Elder Who. I don't like Elder Who. I don't like this fight. He just has an annoying attack where he just teleports off screen and then doesn't attack, and you can't interact with him. It's teleported off the screen, but fortunately, Abyss Shriek is a very powerful spell. Oh, and Desolate Dive! Wow, Elder Who's really paid off today. So Desolate Dive is another spell for these runners, but it's also a spell that actually gives them access to new areas of the game. So they will have at least a few checks that they can do, just off the top of my head. But it will definitely be helpful for them. That was a great pickup. Dive, give resting grounds in Crystal Peak. So if these runners want to do the Dark Room, this does give them resting grounds. So Dive is one of the ways to get into Crystal Peak. You'll actually see Vari's heading that way right now, probably to do these exact things. So coming into the entrance to Crystal Peak right here, there's a floor that is just unstable enough to completely collapse when you use the Desolate Dive on it. For Waterways access, they will need a simple key, which the simple key would give them access, but the way that access to areas locked behind simple keys works in Logic is, since there are 4 simple keys and you can use them on any of the 4, the game waits until you have all 4 to say, okay, these things are now in Logic. So if they have a simple key, they could go do Waterways. There is some stuff that's probably not made easier by their lack of vertical, but they could do some things in Waterway. Yep, Isma's Tear coming here from Vari. Good pickup. Another item that will give them some new checks. Isthmus Tier specifically lets you swim in acid. So there are some areas of the game that are blocked basically by needing to go through an acid pool. And Isthmus Tier lets you do that. It's one of the items that gives you not a ton of progression, but I mean, I think at this point the runners are definitely hungry for just about anything. All right, coming back to Salubra here. So another thing about Salubra is some of these items. Oh, okay, yeah. So some of these items are actually locked behind having a certain number of charms. So you see Rax coming back to Salubra now that they have enough charms and getting the Crystal Heart ability. So the Crystal Heart is their first piece of horizontal movement. You did see Vari use it there briefly, and you see Rax using it now. Basically, you can charge up your dash, and then you'll just dash in a horizontal line, basically until you run into something. You can manually cancel it, but it's very great for just traversing long areas. But also, yeah, there are some things that are you need specifically Crystal Dash to get access to. Yep, and there's Grubfather again. Honestly, Rax probably went to Grubfather for the Geo rewards more than the actual rewards from Grubfather. Crossroads map and a Hollowness Seal aren't exactly the greatest things. Alright, now I see Vari coming back to Boulder Shell. Now that they have Crystal Dash, this gap will be defeated. No Shade Skip necessary. And Desolate Dive is also a Balder killer, so Vari does not even need to overcharm Weaver Song. Everything's coming up roses for them. We'll see what. Oh, and it's a grub. It's a little anticlimactic. I was kind of hoping it would be like a really cool item or like something that would give them access to a new area. Alright, they're reviewing the grubs there just to make sure that they haven't missed anything as Rax is coming into the Blue Lake area. So this does give them a couple of checks, specifically this Rancid Egg, which is also a grub. But they can also drop down and swim across Blue Lake and get a couple of checks below Resting Grounds, or use Crystal Dash. Crystal Dash is probably faster. It's going straight across Blue Lake here as Vari is now heading to City of Tears. Probably going to go down into Ancient Basin, I would say. Yep, going down right here. This is an area that Rax did not hit up when they were first coming through. Was that Mantis Lord's access? Mantis Lord's access. Oh, that's actually really big. That lets them, well, defeat Mantis Lords, first of all. But also gives them access to a number of checks, because there's actually a lot of levers in the Mantis Lords area. I don't know if they were just like, they love their levers. And so what is normally an area that has 3 or 4 checks, it has like 10 now because there's so many levers. So Rax coming here immediately, getting to Elegant Key. Okay, not something they can get to yet, but that gives them access to a new area. It's just a new sub area in City of Tears. Got a couple of grubs. Okay. Great. So now Rax is gonna come here, farm some soul through the floor, just so they're at full health going into the Mantis Swords fight. So unfortunately, they won't be able to actually get the rewards for Mantis Swords here, because they do need to collect. They need a vertical source of movement. Actually, I think they could maybe shade skip. They could maybe shade skip if they wanted to, but it's a lot of work for just one check, I would say. We'll see. We'll see what they do. And yes, a lot of people love Mantis Lords. It's a fan favorite fight. It's a pretty cool one. I think it's got a great design. No Charm Notch there for the mid-fight heal. I don't think Rax is in much trouble, but collecting a Charm Notch does let you, does give you a full heal when you collect it. So but that includes if your co-op partner collects one too. Great, so now that is another goal down. Defeat Mantis Swords. Fari's working on clearing out Ancient Basin. Gonna have to see where Rax is gonna head next. Fari coming down here. This is a bit of an, honestly, a bit of an annoying check to do. You have to go through this long, winding path of enemies just for one check. But hey, it's in logic, and you just can't get past this next area, which requires you to have vertical movement. Got just a purple egg. Eggs are another currency in the Hollow Knight Randomizer. In the base game, rancid eggs are used for. There's an NPC who will retrieve your shade, which is the little guy that you leave behind when you die, in exchange for one rancid egg. So that's pretty helpful if you die in an area that's just too difficult for you. You're not really sure if you're going to be able to get back to it, and you want to save your money because your shade holds your money. But that's not a thing in the randomizer. So instead, that NPC has a shop which takes rancid eggs as payment. We got Rax coming into Fog Canyon here. A little bit of a area where you got to be careful. A lot of electricity. Those big jellyfish, if you attack them, they will die instantly, but they will also send an explosive projectile straight at your face. Another grub. Grub number 20-something. 21. It's a lot of grubs. Hopefully they start finding things that are more progression-shaped. If are using a cool skip there, the infection, taking advantage of that Vengefly to get a little bit of extra height to make it through that room transition. I'm going to be checking the location of the glowing womb charm. Just got this little enemy arena between them and the check. As far as finishing that up, Rax is going into a boss fight of their... Well, I guess a boss fight, not a boss fight of their own. This is Umu. This is one of the required bosses for the base game. Umu's a giant jellyfish who can't be harmed, which sucks, because you need to harm it. Fortunately, you got a buddy in Coral who has just arrived and will make Umu vulnerable for a short period of time. So you can use that window to damage Umu with either spells, your nail, whatever you see fit. That fight in the base game is also remarkably RNG based because the number of attack cycles that Umu goes through is random. The randomizer, as a part of a quality of life feature, has standardized that, so you don't have to worry about losing a race because you got 3 cycles of attacks and your opponent only got 2. Rax at low HP here. Coming up. Hopefully gonna be able to close this out. Oh, okay, gotta make it through one more cycle. Got a soul refill from Vari, that's helpful. Oh, this is tense. All right, at 3 HP. Trying to use the Dream Nail to collect soul. It's a good idea. One more cycle for Umu. Hopefully, okay, got a Dream Nail in there. Ooh, Stagna Stag. That's a great pickup from Bari, not to interrupt this very tense boss fight. Oh my god, Rax is in the corner. Oh no! Oh no, oh no, 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 oh! Oh, that's a shame. Well, Rax will be able to try again. Um, Fortunately for them, it's actually really tough getting back there because the I mean, not really tough, but it's a hike. They gotta take a hike because the save point right before the boss is inaccessible if you don't have the um, if you don't have vertical movement. But Stagna Stag, so that gives them access to a whole new area of the game. Normally, Stagna Stag is unlocked through reaching all other fast point travel locations in the game, and once you have those unlocked, then you find them. Then the stag that has been taking you around says that he's found this place and you get to go there. But in the randomizer, that's just another random item for you to go to pick up. So this will give access. This will give Ari access to a number of checks. Getting Gorb here done. Gorb is another one of the Dream Warriors. Doing a cheeky little glitch there to get early movement. And Lumafly Lantern. Lumafly Lantern is great. There are a number of dark rooms in the game. And as the name might tell you, they're dark. And they're possible to navigate if you know the layout of the room, if you have the right movement, if you know where you are, if you turn your screen brightness high enough. But the Lumafly Lantern is the intended way of getting through those dark rooms. Because, well, just like a lantern, it just lights it up. So this will give them access to some new areas, including Resting Grounds. The Crystal Peak, there's a dark room that lets you drop down into there. So that's actually a really significant pickup for the runners here. Yep, and Brax is back here on attempt number 2 of Umu. Got a good amount of soul. Just trying to get these attack cycles. Trying to get Umu in an advantageous position, because it does follow you around. So then you can ideally get in a position where you can use a spell repeatedly to deal a significant amount of damage while it's vulnerable. All right, and Umu is down. That fight went much better that time around. And for now, this is all for one check. This lore tablet right here. Dreamwheeler's not a bad charm, but it's not exactly what they're looking for here. I won't be surprised to see Rax start to move towards Resting Grounds, but we'll have to see. There's a lot of places I think they can go right now, so we'll have to see what decisions they wind up making. Some soul. Maybe going to Crystal Peak themselves to do the Resting Grounds access. And this seed is really just trip feeding these runners progression. Yep, using Lantern here. This is the other way to get access to Crystal Peaks, is to go through this dark room here. You actually can't interact with that little toll booth if you don't have Lantern. So you unfortunately either have to have Lantern or dive to get access to Peak. Alright, here's summoning the Grim Troop, another fan favorite boss. These are added in a downloadable expansion to the game. The Grim Troop has a whole mini quest where you get to go around the map, collect these flames as a part of a ritual to empower Grim and his troop. Pretty fun. These runners do have the Grimkin Flames randomized, so they will be doing those checks in service of getting new items. And Dreamgate has been found here. Dreamgate is such an incredible quality of life ability. It allows you to basically place down a warp point wherever you want. And as long as you have one essence, then you can use the Dreamgate ability to warp right back there. So it's super great if you have a particular place that's not really near a bench, but you want to return to once you have some sort of ability. If you just want to place down a Dreamgate right outside a boss's arena, it's pretty great. And you see Rax actually using it here to get access to complete this goal of visiting Crystallized Mound, and then being able to use Dreamgate to just go right back and then head on over to Resting Grounds. Yeah, so the room prior to that was a dark room, which was keeping the runners from getting there unless they wanted to do the dark room. But now we are in Resting Grounds, immediately going into the Zero fight. Should be a pretty quick one. This is one of the easier Dream Warriors, and with having accessibility, having the accessibility to Abyssreek in particular against Zero is very, very effective. Just a lore tablet, but hey, the bingo goal is a bingo goal. All right, gonna be doing the Dream Nail sequence here. This is where you would normally collect Dream Nail in the base game, but it is gonna be an unknown item at this point. Meanwhile, Vari is checking out what Divine has to offer. Divine takes your fragile charms, which are fragile and will break if you die with them equipped, and will turn them into unbreakable versions of them for very exorbitant amounts of geo. But in the randomizer, those checks are randomized, and are also, the cost is greatly reduced. So as you collect the fragile charms, those unlock additional checks that Divine can do for you. Not much else to do with the Grim Troop at this point. While you only need the Dream Nail to summon the Grim Troop, you need the charm Grimchild to really do anything meaningful with it, unfortunately. Because Grimchild allows you to interact with the flames, to talk to Grim, a number of things that are pretty important. And Vari's just taking a look over the map, looking to see what's available. As Rax here is picking up the initial wave of C rewards. Great Slash, that is the second Dream. Oh, Mothwing Cloak spotted, 900 and something essence. I'm not sure how close they are to that, but that's the dash item, and that's going to be really good for them. Alright, coming back to Green Path to do No Eyes, which is another area that requires the lantern. You can do the Dark Room for one of these checks, but if to fight No Eyes herself, you have to have lantern. Oh, that's a lot of essence. That might actually be enough essence to so that you gain essence normally in chunks of 100 or multiple hundreds, but you see in these seat racks doing this here. There are these smaller opportunities to collect essence through, they're called Whispering Roots, where you'll basically do a small platforming challenge. And then once you complete the challenge, then you'll get a small amount of essence. And sometimes that essence is just what you need to get to the next reward from Seer. So 20 essence here gives them 919 essence and should give them access to Dash. That was going on. I've already took down No Eyes. I think No Eyes gets a lot of hate. I think she's a fine boss, but I know there's some people who who don't like her. All right, and there we go. Mothwing Cloak. That's definitely gonna help runners not just get access to new areas, but also just move around areas a lot faster. Because while C dash is pretty good, it does have a charge up time and ultimately can lose you time, just depending on how far you're actually using the C dash to go. So now with dash, you'll see these runners. Typically, Bari is going to be coming around and doing things that require dash. So here, this is a little platforming challenge that you are required to. You need dash to get through. Well, I guess at some point these runners picked up the Queen's Garden tag. I didn't even recognize it. That's a new area of the map for them, so they'll get access to a few checks to do. City Crest is pretty big. City Crest gives them access to the City of Tears, but specifically the left side. So far, all they've really had access to is the right side, and there's a lot of good stuff over on the left. Hopefully, do it. I'm going to be completing another goal here shortly. This is Marmu, another one of the Dream Warriors. Yeah, goes down pretty quick, and the Dream Warriors are the ones that are most affected by the scaling of the nail damage, as I was mentioning earlier. So keeping your nail at the base damage allows your Abyss Shrieks to just really shred through a lot of these bosses. But sometimes there's perfectly reasonable circumstances in which you would upgrade your nail. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of a tougher boss fight for saving some grief somewhere else. Bar here is coming into Queen's Gardens from the Bog Canyon side. So the things that Rax were doing were also in Queen's Gardens, but over by the Stag Nest. Sorry, the Stag, not the Stag's Nest. And Bar is going to be completing some of the things on the right side of Queen's Gardens, as Rax is coming back to Fungal Waits to use that City Crest that they just found. Very excited, because this is going to be some really significant stuff that they're probably going to be finding soon. I think Fari should be wrapping up in Queen's Gardens here, surveying the map again, trying to see what's available, what's something that A could go do right now. I'm not really sure. There's nothing I can really think of off the top of my head. Coming back to Crossroads here. Let's see what A's getting up to. Well, Rax is starting to reach some of the first checks of cities, picking up another simple keys. Pretty nice. Should have access to some checks about Nailsmith, plus a couple of levers, maybe a relic or two. Yep, coming up to Rafters here. Climbing up here, trying to avoid these sentries. Another Pale Ore. One of these goals on the board is the Nail 3. So that requires 3 total Pale Ore. So I think that might be their 3rd or 4th. So something that they could get. Ooh, Triple Gate above them already being unlocked does give them access to a little bit more, but not having the not having the vertical here is keeping them from getting access to the areas that they want to. Alright, coming back to Kingdom's Edge. The last time one of them was in Kingdom's Edge, they were only really able to do one check, but since then they've gotten Isthmus Tier, which lets them get up through this transition up here at the top. It gives them access to, again, a couple more checks. It's not like, game breaking, busting open, but it'll give them access to just a couple more things. Again, really kind of feeling the drip feed on this seed so far. So I was talking about simple keys earlier, where areas are not in logic until you have 4 simple keys, as long as, areas that are accessed by using a simple key. But that does not actually prevent you from using a simple key. So if you so desire, you can decide, I want to use a simple key on getting access to waterways right here, because there's nothing really else that I can do in a productive way. Because my co-op partner's taking care of something else. So that's something we could see. That's something that we could see Rax do here. Let's just make the decision. There is talk to Tuck on the board, and Tuck is an NPC that is in waterways, so it would get them a goal. So definitely not something that's out of the question. It is just making the decision of whether you want to try and stay in logic or whether you want to try and branch out a little bit. And Rax trying to do a damage boost here up to this Rancid Egg. There we go. Just a Wanderer's Journal. Nothing that great. That's something that can be exchanged to Lem for a couple hundred geo. Not bad, but nothing really to write home about. Alright. So now we're seeing our runners trying to figure out the next step. Rax is going to be checking out the Nailsmith here, while Vari heads up to Upper Kingdom's Edge. The Mantis Sword's top left lever recently collected. That's also quite interesting, because that might actually give them access to a check in Mantis Village that they did not have access to prior. Rax just trying to set up a little enemy pogo up here, trying to get just high enough to get over that little lip, and there we go. Check out the Nailsmith's hut here. Let's see what he's got for him. Cyclone Slash. Now that's actually significant, because that is their 3rd nail art. And, well, one thing that I didn't mention about Sly, in addition to working retail, he's actually a renowned nail master. And so he has taught a number of bugs throughout the region how to perform powerful skills with their nail. And once you have collected all 3 of them, he gives you a charm. So now they have access to an additional check from Sly. The city storeroom's gate lever also opens up a couple of checks for them. So that opens up a door that you normally can't access from the side that they have access to. We're going to see Rax come back to Leg Eater here. Probably going to be coming down to Mantis Village, if I had to say. Oh, actually, coming back up to City Storm's Gate from City Crest, that makes more sense. Because the gate that they have access to now is actually only accessible from this particular entry point for City. Now Brax left Dreamgate and is now checking Sly to see the Snail Master's Glory check. Anything good? A grub. Again, anticlimactic. Get me so hyped up. I spent like 2 minutes explaining your charm, Sly, and then you let me down like that. Alright, we'll see. I'll see what's going on. Fari coming up here to do some cleanup checks in Crossroads. Probably just going around the region and just trying to see what is actually available. Brax is kind of in the best position, I would say, for doing a lot of the initial progression. But we could see something where they kind of swap off here. Yeah, so here Brax is doing a very in-depth pogo to get access to that check there. Unfortunately, just a soul refill. And now it looks like Vari's actually coming in to do some of the fungal. But A might be going straight to Mantis Lords while Brax goes back to City. And it does seem to be the case as... Oh. Okay, Brax is going to Mantis Lords. Vari's going to City. Alright. They've got their roles figured out. It's kind of funny sometimes when playing co-op and it's like you wind up in the exact same room and your partner is the same time, and yeah, you can't interact with each other like that, but I think it's always a little silly. But again, kind of coming to a point where the numbers of checks are really narrowing. There's less and less for them to do, so the game has to give them something. So they have to be able to get to the next area. All right, just a God Tuner from that Mantis Lord's lever check. Not a useful charm, even though sometimes it does show up as a bingo goal. It's not even really a charm. Oh, they do have the bottom right lever too, and just a mask shard. But I think that does get them their... Yeah, so they have marked that off already. Obtain 1 extra mask. Coming into the City Storeroom stag here is Vari. Just a hollow and a seal. Nothing yet. And now we're seeing Rax come into Waterways here. Again, I'm not quite sure if they've gotten to 4 simple keys. They might have. But at least coming into here to get the goal of talking to Tuck. These runners are coming back here. Alright, he's working on these. Oh, Tram Pass! Tram Pass and Waterways. That is a big pickup. It'll give them access to a number of areas. It'll give them access to Steepness. It'll give them access to Lower Kingdom's Edge. Yeah, it's a pretty big pickup for them. Again, just kind of repeating that progression on the seed. It's really interesting seeing these runners kind of adapt and play, you know, just these very few things giving them access.
Got time for me to jump in real quick and talk about the charity?
Of course.
So you're watching the FFR Presents Summer Rando Marathon. This summer, in benefit of the Liam Foundation, originally started back in 2015. Their mission is to encourage, assist, heal, and empower our LGBTQIA plus community through respect, advocacy, and passionate hearts to promote thriving in society. Recently, they expanded their facility in June of 23, and now they're offering several services to the community, including name change clinics, family meetups, D&D, and adult peer support groups. Please consider donating today. All donations go direct to the charity. We also have a couple incentives for the next run that still are open. For the Archipelago FFR plus Mystic Quest randomizer run, we still have naming a character, which is currently at $15 for naming a White Mage KRK2 after Kraken 2. We've got $15 to name the Mystic Quest character Liam, and for forcing a character to partner with for Mystic Quest, right now we have $20 for Kaylee. So if you want to get in on that, go ahead and donate now. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. So Rax is continuing to work their way through waterways here as Vari is doing more simple key things, going through Pleasure House. King's Brand, that gives them access to the Abyss and Ancient Basin, which they'll give them, again, another few checks. They will have... I did see they also picked up the QG Stag Door, so that's the Queen's Gardens Stag Door, which will make definitely movement throughout Queen's Gardens easier, but should also give them access to maybe one more check over there. So again, just slow progression, just a check here, a few checks there. Hopefully these runners will be able to find something that really kind of, pushes them over the top. Oh, Brax doing a great pogo chain up there. That was awesome. Using the Mothwing Clove to stall against the wall while the enemy regained height. Super cool to see, and did save a bit of time in getting back to that area. And so now they'll be able to do this check immediately. While Rax is finishing up in Waterways, Vari is starting to work in the Abyss. Just completed the Lifeblood Core Room. There is another check in there that they don't have access to yet because of the lack of vertical movement. But there's a couple more things that they can do in this area for sure. An Arcane Egg at the Abyss Shriek check. Yeah, despite the game kind of being a little bit stingy with the progression, these runners have actually completed more than half the goals. They have completed 13 of the 25 goals, and just a couple of items away from doing the rest. I mean, the really vertical movement is really kind of the big thing that they need right now. Something that will make, if not possible, at least a lot easier. All right, Rax is going to be a public transit advocate over here, using the tram pass to get access to... We'll have to see whether they go left or whether they go right. To the left is Deep Nest, which has a couple of checks for them. The right is Lower Kingdom's Edge, which also has a couple of checks for them. I'm not really sure which one would be better at this point. I don't think Kingdom's Edge is a bad way to go. Because honestly, they're probably going to be back there going to the left after they get these couple of checks. Right, using these helpful little bees here. Resetting the room so that the bees reset, and then coming back out. And just using them as just a little helpful platform, just to get them up to this next ledge. Okay. Everyone say thank you, bee. Okay, Hidden Station Stag. Once again, that's one check. It will give them access to the White Palace. Oh, Spore Shroom. Okay, Spore Shroom could give them more items. There's a number of lore tablets throughout Hollowness that are you can't read unless you have the Spore Shroom charm equipped. So if you have lore tablets randomized, well, then you need Spore Shroom to read the lore tablets that require the Spore Shroom. And Shade Cloak! Oh, Shade Cloak's huge. Shade Cloak is the upgraded version of the dash. It gives you invincibility frames into Monarch Wings! Oh, okay, it's all coming together. Oh, everything's happening. Oh, yes. So Monarch Wings is the game's double jump. And it's gonna give these runners so much access. It's not literally everything in the game, but it's most of the things in the game. Maybe most excitingly, and you're gonna start seeing it right away here with Rax almost hitting a double here. Movement tech, Shrogos, Shriek Pogos. So Shrogos were a piece of movement tech discovered, I guess, a couple of years at this point, where essentially you use a small time window to pogo off of your own spell. And when you pogo, you get to use your jump again. So, as long as you have the soul to cast an Abyss Shriek, which is the up spell, and as long as you have a jump available to use, you can use your spell, and then down pogo and jump, and you will get a small additional little bit of height. And you can chain these to gain additional height much higher than you're expected to be able to reach with just Monarch Wings. So these runners can basically mimic having something like Mantis Claw, which gives you basically infinite height as long as you have a wall near you, to gain access to areas that you wouldn't normally be able to with just Monarch Wings. So it's very cool. You're already seeing runners. They did Talk to Bardoon as a goal there. Vari's on its way to doing Markoth. So this is the Markoth fights. That's another goal. Rax is going into Hive to get the Hive Mask Shard. Like, again, like there's still just a couple of items where they'll have to find the random charms, but this is about as go mode as this part of the game gets. Like they've got what they need to do so many of these checks right now, but they've still got to get through more parts of the game to get these random obtains before they can complete it out. Yeah, Vari is now continuing to do Kingdom's Edge. Heading over to Oro, another one of the Nail Masters. Oro is a bit weird because most of the Nail Masters will teach you their skills for free, but Oro, well, he charges a 800 geo fee for his services. It's unfortunate because that is a charm notch at Oro, which is quite useful for the runners. If you haven't played Hollow Knight before, there are charms in the game which provide you additional abilities. Maybe it lets you get more damage on your attacks. Maybe it gives you more invincibility frames if you get damaged. But to equip them, each charm has a notch cost. And so you have a certain number of slots that you can use to slot in your charms. And collecting an additional charm notch will let you equip more charms. And D-Dark 2 from Vari, that's the upgraded version of the Desolate Dive spell, so now they're dealing additional damage. Does not give them access to anything new, but nobody ever complained about dealing more damage. Oh, that's a very funny check. So that was completing the goal of checking the Hive Mask Shard, and it was Hive Blood, which is the charm that you normally find in Hive. But it's also funny because one actually little known, well, like I never knew this when I played the game through the game casually. But if you equip Hive Blood, the enemies in the Hive are actually don't aggro on you. They just leave you alone unless you attack them. And so it's actually can be quite useful for the randomizer if you need to get through a certain area. You can just you can equip the hive blood to make it easier to get through there. All right, Fire is coming down here, going to go through a bunch of dive floors to get to the 420 Geo Rock. There is a couple of checks in here actually as well, so you'll see it pick them up on the way down. Soul Totem, and actually they'll have to come back up to get to the other one, but nothing too bad. And there you go. 420, the 420 Geo Rock has been broken. That is another goal down. Ari's coming back up here. There's one check that it's hard to get with, well, you can't get it without Claw when you do this. So just get in that that lore tablet there with the Spore Shroom. Nothing important, just a Hollowness Seal. But it actually, was that their 5th Hollowness Seal? It was important! I'm actually not sure if those are 5th, but sometimes you have things that aren't important unless there's a goal about them. Then all of a sudden they're made important. Bingo's cool. So at some point, let's take a look at the board and see what they have left to do. So they have 2 Dreamers checks to go. The Dreamers checks are interesting because they are possible to do without Mantis Claw, but oh my gosh, Shaman Stone 0. Shaman Stone, brief aside for Shaman Stone because it deserves the respect. Shaman Stone is probably the best item in the game, the best charm in the game. It increases the strength of your spells, and just it makes your fireballs bigger. It lets you do more damage. It's a beautiful thing. We love Shaman Stone. Alright, so back to the board. So the Dreamers checks, you're probably gonna need Claw, but we could see one of these runners get adventurous and do something like Clawless Beast's Den, which would require an immense amount of Shriek Pogos, but I've seen them do it before, and I would not be surprised if they did it again. Interacting with Mr. Mushroom once. They'll need to actually find more Dreamers for that. I don't think we found one since Hera near the beginning of the seed. But Mr. Mushroom only starts showing up once you have all 3 Dreamers. So looking for more Dreamers there. 420 Georuck has not been marked yet. I'll try and poke them about that. Check and free all grubs in Crystal Peak. Again, another thing that Claw makes immensely easier. But is possible without it if they find the right levers. The Eternal Ordeal, 20 Zotes. So that is a secret challenge located in Godhome. So they'll definitely need Claw for that, just to even access that. And then Shape of Owner Balder Shell is just a random obtain. Then 2 Dream Bosses. They'll have to just make their way over to one of those, I suppose. There's a few in the game. They have Lostkin, they have Soul Tyrant, Veiled Champion. So they've got options, but they're gonna have to take the time. And actually, Vari's probably going to do Lostkin right now. I personally know that Lostkin is one of Vari's favorite boss fights, and Vari takes basically any opportunity to do Lostkin. But it's just a nice little addition when when it's also part of a goal. Yeah, so these runners are definitely honing in on these goals. Just got a little bit left to do towards each of them. And in the process, they're even kind of knocking out some of these random obtains. The High Blood or Shark Shadow, the Tram Pass. They've really just got the Shape of Un left. Or Balder Shell is kind of the random obtained. But even then, that's not really that much different from finding two Dreamers. Right, Rack's setting up a Pogo here, luring over this Crawler Hatcher, or sorry, Carver Hatcher. Gonna be using it to get up to this Lifeblood location. Um, she's just going right by. Maybe already got that goal. I'm done with it. Yeah, the Dirt Carver climb. They're a little annoying to work with, but they really can help you get where you need to be. Sorry, here, working through the Broken Vessel boss fight. So this is the level 1 version of this boss. And the Dream Boss is the upgraded version. So the Dream Bosses are basically upgraded versions of the boss fight that you've already previously completed. So they're probably faster, they might deal more damage, they might have more attacks. There's a lot of ways that they can kind of differ. Some people actually joke that Lostkin is easier than Broken Vessel because there is one attack that Broken Vessel has that Lostkin does not. And it's just an annoying attack to play with and fight against. And I would say, as far as Dream Bosses compared to base boss versions go, it's one of the easier ones. But I would not say this fight's trivial. Max continuing to explore through Deep Nest here. Probably going to be coming into Galian here on the left. Another Dream Warrior, not to be confused with Dream Boss. And this guy's going to be a pushover, I'm just going to say. Wait, what? Oh, Galian? I'm not sure what the Pride Month means. But happy Pride Month. Yeah, see, in the time that I was confused about Pride... No, it's okay. In the time that I was confused about the Pride Month comment, Galian already died. I'm telling you, the fish streak is very strong, and especially once you get Shaman Stone for it. So just being able to keep your nail at baseline and just use those upgraded spells, just really just shred through enemies. And also, Vari took down Lostkin, so that's one Dream Boss done. As these players are continuing to make their way through these areas, knocking out goals. Are you going to be coming back into Abyss, maybe? Maybe. Yes, coming back to the Abyss. Yep, coming to clean up the Lifeblood core room here. So this is actually a really unique room in the game because there is an item in this room that is permanently missable in the base game. There's an arcane egg, which is one of the relics that you can sell to Lem for additional geo. Where if you don't collect it before you collect the charm in this room, the Lifeblood core, then this room is closed off forever and you're unable to get that. That is something that is changed in this game because you might not be able to actually get that check by the time that you do it. And while I was talking about that, the runners have King Soul now. So King Soul is a great charm. It provides a passive buff of Soul, which is what you use to heal and cast spells. Super great pickup for them. And also one step closer to the true ending. Alright, we are going to see some Clawless Peaks here, it looks like. Looks like they did find the levers that they needed to get access to this area. Some of these should be pretty easy going out. Using this little guy here to just pogo up. Making just a little bit of progress each time. Definitely the expectation is that you have Claw for this area. So we're probably going to see some Strogos here. 1, 2, 3. Hey, where I got a triple there. Coming up to pick up that Soul Totem check. Really awesome stuff. Yeah, I think it's about a 4-frame window to hit each of those. And so to hit 3 in a row, it's hitting 3 1/15ths of a second inputs. It's pretty cool. So this is gonna help with I'm actually trying to yeah, they think they should be able to do all of the grubs in Crystal Peak. And they'll definitely be able to get to Crystal Guardian 2 with the tools that they currently have available. So again, this is a great place for them to be. Help them clean up these goals. All right, got another Palace Orb. Good pickup. White Palace is one of the game's late game areas. It's essentially a giant area filled entirely with platforming challenges. I love it. It's probably my favorite area in the game. But it is a late game area both in terms of the base game and also in terms of the randomizer. You'll need access to the point at which you go into White Palace, and you'll also need the Awoken Dream Nail to get access to, which I'm pretty sure these runners don't have yet. But it's something they can find. They've already have Dream Gate, and once they find their next Dream Nail, then that will give them access to the White Palace. Something that White Palace makes more interesting in the lever randomizer is that the getting access to different areas of White Palace is gated behind those levers. So they will need to find the right orb, I think is the last one that they need to get access to the upper area. But there's still a number of checks that they can do in there right now as soon as they find the Awoken Dream Nail. But I'm sure there are some Path of Pain fans in the chat. If not, there is at least one in this voice call. I love Path of Pain. And so you'll need to find that the right orb to get access to that area. While I was waxing poetic about Path of Pain, Crystal Guardian 2 has been taken down. That is one more goal off the board.
Got time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
We got $10 from Cordy Fox saying 1,000 cents in honor of Brookhorse hitting 1,000 hours in Hollow Knight and another 1,000 hours of fixation. And also, I love it very, 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 very much. Times 1,000. Thanks, Cordy Fox.
Thank you, dear. Yes, I recently hit 1,000 hours in Hollow Knight. I love this game. It's great. You should play this game, randomizer or not. Alright, seeing Fari come here. Dude, one of the coolest parts of Clawless Peaks, this is the Peaks Spike Grub with no claw, so navigating those like a champ, all in the service of getting 2 checks. But, hey, I've done a lot more than that for 2 checks. Petra Renegade is a pretty good pickup as well. That's a Queen's Gardens lever that blocks off access to the upper part of Deep Nest. It's not required for the upper parts of Deep Nest, but it's one that's certainly it's a QOL, a quality of lever. Good to have, not necessary, but certainly something that can help these runners out. Speaking of, we're actually seeing Rax do some of the the harder parts of the other side of Petra Renegade. Just got a Shrogo here. Seems some to get up there and get over this little hump. Once you're over there. Oh, so close. Just missed the jump there. Hey, there we go. All right, nice. So they've gotten over that, and now they're heading into the Sportshroom room, which will then take them to the upper parts of Deep Nest for some additional checks. And the Vengeful Spirit, an hour and a half in, they found the first, that's intended to be the first spell of the game. Oh, Vari going for it. The big Shrogo. Oh, almost hit the 4 in a row. Oh, that was so close. So Spell Twister actually makes your spells cost cheaper. Normally, you get your base amount of soul holds enough charges to cast 3 spells, but with Spell Twister equipped, you can cast 4 spells. So with that, you are able to do 4 Shrogos in a row. Just gotta hit the timings. Already got pretty close there, but it's a tough one to hit. Rax is coming into the upper parts of Deep Nest, doing the grub check in the Mimic Room, while Vari is picking up a grub check of its own over here on the right. Very important. What's Void Heart? So this is a blessing and a curse. So Void Heart is required for the true ending of the game, but it also takes away the passive soul generation of King Soul. So it's always a little bittersweet to see, because it's like, yay, progression item, but also, I kind of really like that 1 charm cost King Soul. Wow, Vari coming up here, doing this Clawless Hollowness Crown, making this look easy. Oh no, they fell. No! Right after the compliment. Oh man. Let's see if Vari can recover from this. And their best. They might just bench. Yeah, they're just gonna bench warp and reset the room. Makes sense. They might even just go somewhere else. They might just leave the Dream Gate there and come back later. So now that they have vertical, Rax is coming back to the Mantis Village to collect the rewards from that boss fight they did like an hour ago. This is something where the Mantis Lord's rewards are much easier to get to once you have the vertical progression. So just coming over here, just a few chests. Soul refill. City Fountain Gate. Little late for that one. That one connects you from the left to the right side of the City of Tears. And a lore tablet. Pretty underwhelming rewards for that boss fight. Vari coming in here to do the rub check in Crystallized Mount and do the other checks alongside it. This is one of the checks that is required for the Crystal Peak Scrub Award. probably just trying to focus on knocking that one out right now. But hey, it's in an area where it's able to pick up a couple of other checks along the way. West Sanctum Lower Gate. Alright, so now both of our runners have kind of finished up their current tasks. It's going to kind of be interesting to see where they head next. Rax seems to be doing some cleanup checks in City. Vari continuing to look for grubs in Crystal Peak. This one, don't believe it's lies. That is an evil grub. You have to break a hidden wall behind it to get access to the real grub. Right, and that seems to be all of them. All the grubs. We'll see. We'll get confirmation on that. But for now, heading into City, maybe going to do Soul Sanctum. I think that's kind of, yes, going into Soul Sanctum here. Definitely, I think the biggest area that they haven't really touched yet. There's a lot of density in Soul Sanctum. Just really closely packed checks, really easy to get a number of things done really quickly. So it's usually pretty good to get into. And you can. It actually says it's not in logic. So I'm wondering if they are missing something for it, and if Ari's just coming for the elegant key checks here. We'll have to see. That's coming back to Royal Waterways here. Imagine coming into the junk pit. This is the area where they will have access to Godhome, which gives them the ability to do the Eternal Ordeal. But gonna have to be able to find Claw to get that done. But even though they can't do the Eternal Ordeal for the Bingo Bowl, they will have access to a few checks in the junk pit, so will be helpful for them. Oh, there's Sharp Shadow. That's unfortunately from a goal that they already did. Can't mark off a goal twice, unfortunately. Yeah, Vari is coming into Soul Sanctum here. Just clearing out these areas. Rax is here in Junk Pit now. It's called Junk Pit because, well, when the items that are normally there are paltry amounts of geo, and one of the chests actually has nothing in it. It has literally nothing, and you bet your bottom dollar that you can collect nothing in this randomizer. You can do a check and it'll just say nothing. You do get a cute little animation for it, but it's nothing. Sorry, coming in here to the Soul Master boss fight. Soul Master does have a Dream Boss version. We might see Vari just go straight into it after doing the baseline version. Kind of a pushover at this point with Abyss Shriek and Shaman Stone. But Soul Tyrant's definitely a little bit tougher. Right. And Breakable Strength, not a bad pickup. Yep, I'm going straight into the Soul Tyrant fight, trying to get this 2 Dream Bosses gold knocked out. And after this, it's probably just going to be heading back to making plays for density, looking for Mantis Claw, I think primarily at this point, but also Shape of Bone and Balder Shell. Looks like Rax is setting up an enemy Pogo right now to get to the Dung Defender fight. Learn this loop over here all the way up just to do a little Pogo, just get enough height, get to that Scream transition. And from here, you're able to get wherever you need to be with just your wings. Getting a nice little Scream skip there on Dung Defender. There's a number of enemies, a number of bosses in this game where at the beginning of the fight, they will do a triumphant scream that stuns you and makes you unable to move. But if you are able to take damage during one of those, you get control of your character back. So and they're still stuck in their cutscene, so you just get to kind of wallop away. Pretty good, and you actually saw on that particular one that Rax had such good just combat abilities at this point in the game that it instantly got to the midpoint of the fight just from that one Scream skip. We do see Vari here working into Soul Sanctum rewards. This is a little bit of a weird area to do without Claw. Strogos make it easier, as do these follies that follow you around. Just providing nice little, portable pogos. It's very convenient. But yeah, the Strogos also pretty handy here. Just being able to regain height when you need to drop down to pick up these checks in lower areas. And Lurian! We have another Dreamer. So that should put us at 2 out of 3, I think. There are 2 more remaining. The base version of the game does have 3 Dreamers, but the randomizer adds an additional Dreamer just to make it a bit easier to get what you need to complete the game. You may have even noticed that there's actually a number of abilities that have duplicates. I think every major movement ability has a duplicate. Oh, and actually they did know the location of their 3rd Dreamer. Monomon is here at GG, and so there's their 3rd Dreamer. That'll give them the ability to, they now have access to True Ending. They can also interact with Mr. Mushroom now that they have 3 Dreamers. And they can also Mantis Claw! Alright! There it is! That was so close to where Rax was previously. Wow. It just didn't have the vertical ability. So now they're really going to be looking to churn through areas, looking for this last charm, Shape of Owner Balder Shell. That's the biggest thing that's standing between them and being able to finish this up. Yep, there's interacting with Mr. Mushroom, just right there. He's a funky little guy. I don't really get his full deal, but I'm not that deep on the lore side of things. Yeah, but hey, Mr. Mushroom interacted with. That's the goal. That's all you gotta do. You don't have to understand him. So we see Vari coming up here to the Watcher Knights fight in the Watcher's Spire. This is going to give them access to one of the Dreamer's checks, and Rax is immediately going to Beast's Den um, to get Hera's check. So um, they should have this goal done really soon. It's awesome. Um, Thank you, Red Mage. I'm really glad you've been enjoying it. I love this game. I if I did not have physical limitations on my body, I would do 24 hours of this stream. But I am like definitely feeling that I have been talking for almost 2 hours straight. It's super fun. If you do want to learn more about the Hollow Knight Randomizer, there's a lot of great resources for like starting out. There's a Discord server. There is also actually, if you like watching more, oh my gosh, you'll have a Twitch command. That's so cool. Y'all are so good at this. Um, yes. So they have Discord. There's also actually an upcoming tournament that is running this format, the co-op blackout bingo with true ending. So those races will be streamed at the Hollow Knight community Twitch stream. That's just Hollow Knight community on Twitch. Yeah, so those are co-op races, so it'll be 2v2. They're a ton of fun. And they have, I think, like 20 to 30 teams entered. So there's gonna be a lot of them coming up. But they've like just set up teams, so they're gonna be setting up dates and getting things scheduled soon. So yeah, so if you like this, there is more. Trust me, there's so much more. All right, so while that was going on, Vari's taking down the Watcher Knights, going up the Watcher's Fire to get the Lurian check. Rax is heading into Godhome to do the 20 Zotes Eternal Ordeal. And we're probably gonna see Vari heading into just density mode, just looking for that Shape of Un, looking for that Balder Shell, just trying to get those knocked out. And honestly, it could be somewhere else. Like they could know where it is. I imagine they would have picked it up by now if they knew where it was or knew what they needed to get it. But yeah, you see Vari here scanning the map, just checking what's in Logic, what's available. Claw does give them access to some things that they wouldn't have had previously, so they'll be coming into areas that they've already been to. Looks like they've got their eyes set on Collector, I think, which makes sense. There's a few, because again, they're pretty late in the seed at this point. So a lot of what they've done is, well, they've already done it. So there's not much true density left. There's just a few things that are kind of like, do this and you'll get 1 check, do this, you'll get 2 checks. And Collector here is 4 checks for just doing 1 thing. That's a pretty good deal at this point in my book. And I'll try and explain the Eternal Ordeal Zotes thing. It's weird. Um, there's a kind of a meme character. His name's Zote. And he has a challenge in the boss rush area of the game where you fight tiny copies of himself for no real reward. If you do enough, if you defeat enough of these Zotlings, you actually do get a different menu style that you can use. But you don't get anything for just 20, except this bingo goal. Yeah, so here we are fighting Zote the Mighty. Oh, there's the 4th Dreamer. That's funny. Yeah, so here we are at the Eternal Ordeal. And yeah, these guys will just keep coming until you die. I I honestly forgot this was a bingo goal. I haven't done it in forever. But there's just a bunch of these different types of enemies just kind of attacking you as you progress throughout them. As you kill more difficult types will start to spawn. But you can kind of bunch them up, use your spells. But eventually the kind of just the area just gets so crowded that it's kind of hard to catch your breath, kind of hard to find space to heal. You start running out of soul, they start getting all over you. But 20 is pretty doable. So once we see Rax kind of work their way through these guys, so close to 20, 1 HP. Oh, they're gonna be able to close it out. Oh, from the ceiling, no! Oh, tragic. I mean, fortunately, it's pretty easy for them to just try immediately again. And I think this is part of why Rax kind of went here first, was just because they're a little unpredictable. And it's also not, frankly, it's not something you practice. It's something you just do when it shows up, and that's your only practice. So I think it makes sense for them to kind of get here early rather than kind of leaving this as like the absolute last thing. And just being able to get this knocked out and then going to help Fari. Oh, they found it. Shape of Un encrypts. I see the goal mark, but I don't see it on the. Yes, Shape of Un. That was the Soul Eater check in Resting Grounds Crypts. That actually worked out really great. And now Fari will be able to kind of go get set up for true ending. I think we're still good on time here. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, this just like worked out perfectly. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit worried starting out. I was like, wow, it's like an hour and they really haven't gotten much major progression. I don't know if they'll be able to finish in 2 hours. But it's, as long as Rax is able to close out these 20 Zotes, we should be looking really great. So Fari has a little bit of luxury. He's able to kind of go around, maybe check shops to see if like, oh, here's a mask shard we never picked up because it didn't. The first time we went here it didn't have any money or whatever. Has a chance to actually take nail upgrades now because both of the final bosses are not affected by taking nail upgrades. And yeah, able to, make sure its charms just perfect, all set up for the final fights. And there we go, 20 Zotes. So now Rax can get out of here. Does look like Fari may have been trying to go pick up a vessel fragment or mask shard or something. Yeah, there's Rax picking up that charm notch. See, just like a little bit of final preparations for the final fight. Get up some lifeblood. All right, so we got the final fights coming up here. Vari is heading into the Hollow Knight. This is the first part of the fights. Should be a pretty quick portion. Again, with all the charms that they have access to, with the max damage on their nail. Actually, I don't know if they got pure nail, but they got several nail upgrades at this point. Both players in the final boss fight now. So normally, when you beat the game in any percent, this is just the final boss. But if you have Void Heart, then you get to fight the true final boss, the Radiance, which Vari has just come into. It's challenging the sun. here is the Radiance. The source of the infection plaguing Hollow Nest. Brax has finished up the Hollow Knight portion of True Ending. It's now going into the Radiance fight themselves. Safari's getting great mileage out of that Abyss Shriek attack. Entering into the next phase. Heading into Plats. About halfway done with the fight for Vari so far. As Rax is just starting now. Alright, let's see if Radiance will be kind to Vari. She's kind when she stands perfectly still and just lets you attack her repeatedly with nail and spells. That was not the kindest, but definitely a very good Radiance pattern. Definitely being able to take full use of all those Abyss Shrieks. Do a swag little under plat strat. And that is Vari done. Rax is entering Plats right now. Yep, Vari taken down. The Radiance there. Alright, and Rax is coming up here. Working their way up through the climb. And time is coming up. And time. Alright. Heck yes. Oh, thank y'all. Yeah, GG's. Thank y'all so much for being here, for watching the run, for having us again. This was super fun to do last time. It was super fun to be here again, helping support the Liam Foundation, which again, you can donate to right now. Got a lot of great runs coming up tonight and tomorrow. Thank you again for having us.
And I'd like to jump in with a donation that just came in from Wildham. $25. Put it all towards my boy Tristram in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Good luck Hebbingson Chanigan. May the spaghetti not be too messy. Thanks, Wildham. Stick around, everyone. We're going to get set up for the next run. If you like the Hollow Knight randomizer, if you loved the co-op blackout bingo shenanigans that you just saw, go ahead and donate. If you want more information, go ahead and check out the Hollow Knight randomizer. We'll be back in a few minutes with FFR Cross FF Mystic Quest. We'll be right back.